Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me talking about some board games, and today I'm going to be doing a kind of a continuation of my previous video where I talked about some games that are coming soon to the channel, potentially, maybe, possibly, kind of, sort of, potentially. A lot of caveats, a lot of streaks on that one, but let me go ahead and, oh, hello, Time Roller, welcome. Oh, Time Roller says, no, I'm tired. I have silent victory. Nice. Sorry, let me get our background music, sorry. For those who are watching, I do live stream on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/CulBlu. That's CulBlu. Feel free to check me out there, but let me get our background music started before I forget. I know the conspiracy. You're trying to make me forget. You're trying to make me forget, Time Roller. I'm on to you. But with that said, yeah, this is going to be, like I said, a continuation of my previous video series where it talks about games that are potentially going to come to the channel, possibly, maybe, potentially. Some of these games I've already done playthroughs of, more specifically D-Day at Omaha Beach, I've done a full playthrough of that one. Golden Age of Piracy, I'm still in the process of trying to finish a campaign playthrough of that one. And Warfighter Vietnam, I've done a few playthroughs of that one as well. But we're going to talk about these games. And also just kind of talk about like the evolution of my board gaming journey. So you'll notice a theme with all these games here. For those who are more so into just the board game side of things and not really into the war game side of things, these are all war game or war game adjacent. I say war game adjacent because I feel like Golden Age of Piracy and Halls of Hegra just barely cross that line. Just barely. And also Warfighter Vietnam kind of just barely crosses that line too as far as a war game is concerned. But everything else is kind of a bona fide war game that's on the list besides those three that I called out specifically. Actually, Shores of Tripoli. I don't know if you can really call it a chits-n-bits game, but yeah, my definition I'm using for that is just basically chits-n-bits game. So a game that has like little small squares or chits, and then bits, like, you know, maybe like dice or sticks or different wooden bits, cubes and things you can place around the board. Sometimes like bingo discs. But these are all games in my collection that I have. Trying to look at my shelf, make sure I don't miss anything. I guess Undaunted counts. No, I personally wouldn't count Undaunted in this group of games, but I do have Undaunted. I have all of Undaunted, the base game except for Battle of Britain. And I guess 13 Days could be up here too, but I'm not going to put 13 Days on here. That feels, I don't know, 13 Days feels a little bit more on the board game side than war game side. But these are all war games, and I'm bringing this up because I think this is an interesting evolution of my board game journey. Because for me, I really had zero interest in a lot of war games because a lot of the war games focus on World War II, World War I, Civil War, and I don't care about those things. Like Vietnam is like my topic. Like I love playing board games and doing engage with media that talks about kind of the psychology, not psychology, but just like the time period of Vietnam, whether it's like what the political environment was like, the civil rights movement that was going on at the same time, the people that were fighting for, you know, their ability to kind of get the government to not lie to them. And it's just like a very interesting time period in history for me personally. Although unfortunately, I feel like I'm living through like 7 Vietnams with my current lifetime as in the time of our dear savior 2026. But let me tell you that that time period to me interests me. And the rest of these are kind of games that don't really focus on that. I guess, clearly, Fire in the Lake is about Vietnam too. So these two games are the exception, but everything else is kind of like, these weren't really in my wheelhouse. I wasn't really that interested in them. And the reason why I kind of come to these games over time is because one, they either have some kind of solo aspect to them that's really profound and really good. Like for instance, Comancheria kind of takes you on that solo experience that follows Navajo Wars, or at least the system of Navajo Wars that people say was really good. And it gives you like a kind of playing as the Native Americans, the First Nations people, and just kind of fighting back against what's going on and trying to like survive and trying to navigate that. D-Day at Omaha Beach is another game that has like a very unique mechanism with like, you know, kind of east and west. East and west because south, you're invading from the south. So this is east, this is west. I know for those who are looking, east is technically over here, this is north. Forward is north, this is east, this is west. But in the game, this is east, this is west. Sorry, I'm gonna explain that because it confused me for a little bit too. But it has like this interesting mechanic where you activate your people, you move them along, you got some extra actions that you can do, some free actions you can do, self-preservation moves, and try to leverage those and try to position yourself the best you can to kind of fight against insurmountable odds. And it has a card system that holds onto the randomization for the game, or that does the randomization for the game in a very good way. And then Cross Bronx Avenue, I mean, I can say something about every single one of these games here that's on my currently on my table, with the exception of course, Silent Victory is clearly still in shrink wrap. I have not done an unboxing, but I will be doing an unboxing here after I'm done with this video. So shout out to you, Time Roller. I know you said Silent Victory is one that you liked a lot. I'm gonna be doing an unboxing of it because I just got it. But let me go ahead and just go through the list similar to how I did before and talk about each one individually, as opposed to kind of talk about them in kind of the smattering of a way that I just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my other camera over here, and we're going to go through these games in, these games are in no particular order, and these are all of the warlike games that I have, with the exception of Infernal Machines, mostly because I just ordered it. It's not here yet. So I do have Infernal Machines on its way. I think that's the only other war game that I have, warlike game. Yeah, I think just Infernal Machines. So this is pretty much my entire Universal collection so far. So let me go ahead and go through this. And I know this is kind of, I think I'll title this like games that I'm going to eventually do solo playthroughs of. I don't really have an intention of doing a solo playthrough of Mr. President. I'm just going to say that ahead of time, but we'll talk about it when we get to it. So Shores of Tripoli. There you go. I knew it was one of those. It was in there somewhere. Shores of Tripoli. This is a game that I've done a playthrough with Bear on his channel, and we had a lot of fun with it. But I did get this from a secondhand board game store, just kind of on a whim because I could play it solo. The theme again does not interest me at all. It's just the fact that it could play solo and it was a reasonable price. I said sure, and also had reasonable reviews on the internet, so I could play solo and all that fun stuff. I do like the system that it employs, where you basically have this card system. Excuse me, this card-based system. It's asymmetric, where you have the United States. They're trying to fight against the Barbary pirates from on the shores of Tripoli. Am I saying that right? No, I'm saying it wrong again. Tripoli. There you go. Yeah. All right. One of those pronunciations is correct. It's Tripoli, or Chipotle, as we called it during our playthrough. I think triple E is the proper pronunciation. So I'm going to stick with triple E from this point going forward. So my apologies to those who keep hearing me saying it's raking against your ears. But Fort Circle Games, I think they did Votes for Women. Oh man, I forgot about Votes for Women. And that's a list. Sorry, let me go grab that. But they did Votes for Women. That's my other warlike game. Aha. I was wrong. Oh wait, man, Stellar Horizons 2 is up there too, but I'm not pulling that out. I've done a playthrough of that one too. All right, Votes for Women's on the list. Stellar Horizons 2, we'll talk about later. Okay, going back over here though. It's an interesting system, I like it. And as a 1v1 game, I think this is pretty good. It doesn't last forever, which is pretty nice. And you do have some very specific victory conditions for both sides. And I feel like, of course, the Pirates, they have a little bit easier time winning, but I do also understand that the U.S. has the bigger advantage overall, as long as you know what you're doing. You can make arguments if I know what I'm doing or not, but that's not the point. The point is, this game was fun, and I was entertained by it, and I do want to try to do a solo playthrough of it. I got to get used to the solo bot, so that's why that one's taking a little bit long. Next up is going to be Silent Victory. Haven't unboxed it. I'm excited to learn about it. I literally just bought this yesterday. At the time you're recording this, physically yesterday. Timeline-wise, literally yesterday. And this is one that I looked up on Board Game Geek, and there were some good reviews about it. I remember seeing The Hunters on the same board game shelf. Actually, it was there too at the same day. And one of the things about kind of going for war games or games with history is like I usually am interested in the history that it's trying to show at the same time. And it's really tough. And this is a conversation. I can even make a whole separate video series about this. And I'll try to get Bear to join me so we can talk about history and board games and stuff. But like certain history doesn't interest me. And the history that this game covers is the Second World War. Let me double check. Yeah, World War II in the Pacific. And The Hunters was about playing the Germans. And you're playing the Germans, aka the Nazis. And you are essentially trying to use your U-boats and you're trying to hunt down the ships and stuff. And it's like I have zero. It sounds like a cool system, and I'm happy for you, but I have no interest in playing as the Nazis. So as a result, when this one came out, and by that I mean when I saw this one on the shelf, let me be more specific. This one came out, I think, not too long after The Hunters. From what the internet seems to tell, like this, I think the first edition of this came out in 2016. Time Roller, you might know. Please let me know, and I'll mention it here. But this one was much more interesting of a theme to me because it's on the correct side of the battle, as correct as one could be for a battle such as that, where you're playing as the U.S., and also kind of introduces some more additional history about World War II that I hadn't really dove into. Because of World War II history as an American, D-Day, you hear all D-Day this, D-Day that, and also the concentration camps. That's all you really hear about. And you really got to dig deep to hear about all the other battles, like the different named battles during World War II. The major victories and major losses. I can't name any right now. I think Barbarossa comes to mind. I think Operation Barbarossa or whatever it's called. That one comes to mind as a big battle of the Bulge. Is that World War II? I don't know. Clearly, I don't know my World War II history, but submarines sound like a really cool thing to like learn about. So I'm super excited, super interested in learning about this one. Silent Victory, like I said, I haven't unboxed it yet. I will be doing an unboxing after this shortly, but I'm looking forward to learning this one. And this one is a solo-only game, which is very exciting. Yeah, this one is, oh, there is a 2-player mode. Oh. But it's mainly made for solo, so I am super excited about that. I've been also trying to focus on games that were specifically for solo because, I pay a lot of money for board games, especially war games are, oh my gosh, I don't know why. War games are expensive for no reason, and Comancheria was no exceptions for that. Comancheria, I think that's how you pronounce that. Comancheria, the rise and fall of the Comanche Empire. This game was like, I think it was like $80. I was like, why does it cost so much money? But there's ooh, that's embarrassing. There's a lot of game in here. Hold on, let me flip this correctly, fix my past mistake. There we go. But there's a lot of game involved in this one. There's a lot of different modes you can play in, or a lot of different time periods I should say you can play in, and some technology trees you can climb. I really enjoyed my experience on learning this one. It was rough because with a lot of games, especially a lot of war games, they have a lot of tiny, small details. In GMT, the way that they teach their games is it's a little bit off-putting sometimes for me personally with my learning style. But I will say that I was able to survive long enough to learn the rules and learn the mechanics and get enough of a hang of it to see what the game was doing, what it was trying to do. And I'm very, very excited about getting this one to stream. Like of all the games on my table right now, I'm probably most motivated to get a playthrough of this on the stream and Cross Bronx Expressway, which we'll talk about later. But the Comancheria, like just the history is talking about just what you're doing, and as far as how you play the game, just as far as like how the challenges come about and how you have to combat them. That just sounds so cool to me. And this is a form of history. This is a version of history that I want to see more of, where you're talking about like the First Nations people, the Native Americans who fight. You're talking about their plight and their fight to try to fight for their own tribal lands as they're getting invaded and getting manifest destinied across the entire country. And this is like a really interesting, like, giving a voice to a part of history that's not really highlighted as much, especially here in America. And I can speak on that as my own personal education in America, especially with me being black in America. Not that that has a specific lean on it, but just saying, learning about that kind of history is really important to me personally, because, just learn more, be more knowledgeable. The more you know, the better you do type situation. So Comancheria, I'm looking forward to getting that game down packed. I gotta do a lot more solo playthroughs and make sure I'm not screwing up the rules. And I do want to get some playthroughs of that, so I'm super excited about that one. Probably most excited about that one, to be honest. All right, next up is D-Day Omaha Beach. You know it, you love it, you've seen it before. I've done a full playthrough of this one, solo playthrough. This game is gigantic. I only did a half playthrough and it took me 8 hours. I think it was like 3 videos in 8 hours, and I don't know if I'll ever do a full game of this. I might try to convince a friend to join me, maybe not Bear. I think Bear's already said that he's zero interest in joining me on this one. But I might try to find a friend to join me so we can do like East and West, or trying to fight together. But in this game, you're basically storming the beaches of Normandy, and then after you storm the beaches of Normandy, if you make it past certain checkpoints, then you can go to the second half of the game where you're trying to fight on the inner parts of Normandy and try to take over the area and just kind of establish a foothold for the U.S. and allied forces. So this is a really, really, really well done game, and I enjoy my experience with it a lot. I've already done a review of it, already talked about it, but I really love the card system. I just love the card system so much. And the card system is so frustrating because it always knows. It always knows. It knows. It knows what I was caring about, and it just screws me over every time. Anyway, D-Day Omaha Beach, looking forward to getting this one on the table again at some point in the future. Probably not in the near future, but definitely sometime in the future. Next up is Cross Bronx Expressway. Not Cross the Bronx Expressway, it's Cross Bronx Expressway, because it's an expressway that goes literally through the Bronx. And this game is, I don't know, like this is like, everything about this game is the reason why I started getting more and more interested in war games. Because again, there's a lot of history in war games, and even if I'm not interested in history like World War II, World War I, the Civil War, especially I have zero interest in playing as Robert E. Lee as a commander, but there's a lot of history there that it talks about, a lot of different struggles, a lot of different political back and forth things. Like Infernal Machines is a game that I don't have in front of me. I know I have Cross the Bronx Expressway, and I should be talking about that, but I'll pause for a second and talk about Infernal Machines. Infernal Machines interests me because you can play as either side. It's basically the first submarines for the Civil War, with the Confederate and the Union forces, and you can play as either a Union shipbuilder, basically, that you're trying to build the first submarine and you're trying to go against that and deal with all the struggles that they have, or you can play as on the Confederate side, and the Confederate side gives you more freedom, the Union side gives you more reliable resources, stuff like that. And it makes it a very interesting game because you're talking about two different sides of history. I don't have to play as Confederates. I can play just as Union, never play as Confederates. But it's just, the fact that I have the option is really good. So I say that as a long way to say that if a game has like, the Confederates or the Nazis or something like that, then I'm okay as long as I can play as the other side instead. If I had the option to, I'm usually fine with it. But going back into Cross Bronx Expressway, this is kind of hitting on a lot of extra history, like a very niche history. And actually, I had the luxury of watching Heavy Cardboard's playthrough while I had this game on the table, learning it and trying to pick up rules as they were talking about it and trying to make sure it matched what I had learned so far from the rule book. And Breaking Space was there and basically giving commentary on the game. And one of the reasons why Breaking Space, why he or they or the entity known as Breaking Space made this game was because they didn't have, or non-Breaking Space, non-Breaking Space, was mainly because they didn't have a lot of history talking about the Cross Bronx Expressway. And what it impacted it, and I think non-Breaking Space actually lived in that area, so kind of saw it, heard it from the families, and just kind of said, hey, why don't we have anything talking about this? So this game is really interesting because it's kind of the culmination of all the research, of all the first and second hand resources. Is that right? First hand resources. Is that what I'm trying to say? First accounts, second accounts, whatever the proper word is. And putting all that into like a board game and expressing that history through the board game pages. Like, it has so much cool stuff in this game, and this game is very much a warlike game for sure, where you're trying to manipulate the board, play your cards, do your actions at the right time, trying to make sure you do things in the right order to make sure it gives you the most advantage. It has all the hallmarks of a warlike game, but it is definitely not a war game, so to speak. So I think it's very interesting and fascinating. I just love the history it's talking about, especially with something like this. Like, this is my kind of topic of like how the blend of the community fights back whenever they're being kind of pushed down or oppressed, and how the community comes together to kind of deal with the vulnerable population, how the public sector deals with the vulnerable population and tries to help them out, and how the private sector comes in and tries to invest and help out and also exploit the vulnerable population, not just exploit, but also in addition to all that, exploit the vulnerable population, and try to coalesce and work with the rest of the coalitions out there, the rest of the factions, to work in these areas. And it's like this really interesting crossroads for me, no pun intended, really interesting crossroads for me of politics and history that's most interesting to me, especially when it comes to history that has impacted persons who are minority persons like myself. It may not have been my area, may not have been my time period, but it definitely impacted persons who were the Latino population, the Chicano population, all that stuff, and also African Americans, Black people, people who are immigrants, migrants to the area who were considered minorities at the time. And it's just such an interesting blend of things. Anyway, I can talk on forever and ever and ever about this. I know I'm supposed to give a small blurb and move on, but I'm just super excited about getting a playthrough of this one. This one for sure is going to get a playthrough solo. I want to make sure I got the rules down packed. I want to make sure that I got the automas correct and I'm playing them correctly. So it's probably going to take me a while to get this on stream, on a recording, but I do for sure super want to get this one out there and played for sure. Okay, all right, Cross Bronx Expressway. Looking forward to that one, of course. All right, Golden Age of Piracy, 1718. I've already been doing playthroughs of this. Boom, done. No, I've already been doing playthroughs of this. This game is interesting because this kind of is using, what's the name of the guy? Oh, jeez. Where's the designer? Is his name not on the box? Oh, Joe Carter. It's using Joe Carter's charts and tables system, which I at first was super frustrated with. If you go watch my review, you'll know that. But I was so frustrated, I was so agitated with the charts and tables system, where essentially all the rules are basically where the charts and tables are, and I was like, this is so dumb, why didn't you put the rules in the rule book? But after playing it and after going through the motions of playing the game and getting into the system, it works out brilliantly, to the point to where I would recommend a charts and tables system for something like Mr. President, because that game could definitely use it, so you don't have to flip through 6 different books to find stuff. Just flip through one book that has the rules and the charts at the same time. But this game was a lot of fun. Has been a lot of fun, and I do intend to finish my playthrough. I know it has been a while. It's been a long while since I've actually sat down and did another part to my playthrough series at the time we recorded this video. But I do intend to kind of finish that playthrough or see where it concludes. It is a at least at least a 10-hour game. I can say I'm on hour 10 already, and I'm only halfway through at best. But Golden Age of Piracy, 1718, a lot of fun. There is an expansion, a print and play expansion that you can get, which is gives you kind of it gives you the ability to kind of board and have like ship boarding battles. I don't intend to use that for mine, but I just want to mention that for those who might be interested in the game and maybe wanted to see more of the pirate ship fighting side of things. All right, next up is Halls of Hegra. So Halls of Hegra is a game that I was kind of chasing out there for a long while. This game in Purple Haze, I saw at my friend the local game store, and I was like, nah, no, I'm not interested in those kind of games. Halls of Hegra, it's like history I'm not really interested in. I'm not interested in that. And then Purple Haze is like, ooh, Vietnam. No, it costs too much. No, I can't do it. And then Purple Haze went the way of the dodo, unfortunately. But Halls of Hegra did show back up on the shelves, and I bought it as soon as I saw it because it's like, oh yeah, my second chance. And this game is basically following. Well, you can read it here if you want to. But this game is doing like a storytelling thing. And from what I hear people say, because I haven't done a full playthrough of this either. What I hear people say about this is that it's very, very, very hard to win. And if you do get a victory, it's usually by like things lining, like the stars aligning in such a perfect way. But the main thing that was attractive for me for this game was that it's a single player only. I included in the chits-n-bits style game. It's just barely there because honestly, there's not enough chits. I mean, there's a lot of bits, but not enough chits to be a chits-n-bits game, like a little small, tiny squares, cardboard squares. But I do have this one in my collection, and I am looking forward to learning it. I am looking forward to doing a playthrough eventually. This one might be a little bit more on the back burner for me personally, because I have so many other games that I really want to get to the front of the line. But Halls of Hegra is in my list of games I do want to eventually get a playthrough of. Moving on to Twilight Struggle. I have no intention of playing this on my channel. I was going to say that out loud. But Twilight Struggle Red Sea Conflict in the Horn of Africa. I've heard good things about this one as a more condensed version of Twilight Struggle, and that appealed to me. I've also heard some reasonable things about the solo. I mean, here's his solitaire suitability is at a 9 out of 9, so that's actually pretty good. But I still don't have any intention of playing this on stream. I mean, I might if I decide to sit down and play it. But Twilight Struggle is a game that really, what's the best way to say this? When it comes to board games that got me interested in history, or my interest into like history things, Twilight Struggle was there at the forefront. So it was really Vietnam, like learning about Vietnam and watching the Kim Burns documentary on Vietnam really got me more interested in history. And then around the same time, like maybe within like the same year, I played Twilight Struggle, the video game, in video game form on my computer. And when I played that game, I was like, whoa, this is like so interesting. This is so like, you know, every card you play feels like a choice that's just grating at you. I just feel so devastated when I play a card. And then only to find out my opponent has the same exact feeling too. That's so crazy. So I just love that so much. And then the history is dealing with the Cold War was really interesting to me. Because again, that's kind of in that similar time area as like the Vietnam War. I know it's not the same, but similar area, similar region of like government doing weird things space. So that got me really interested. So that goes a long way to say that I wanted a condensed version of that because Twilight Struggle, I feel like it's a great video game. I couldn't imagine playing that as a board game. I watched some playthroughs of it and I was like, that looks like more steps than I'm willing to take. I say as I have all these war games in front of me. But Twilight Struggle Red Sea Conflict is on my shelf because I do want to try to do a 1v1 with one of my friends in particular. I also want to do a 1v1 against my stepfather here to see how that goes, and also play against my dad too to see how that goes because, you know, they were both in the military. But I'll never do a solo playthrough of that one, or I have no intention of doing a solo playthrough of that one, but it's on my shelf, so we'll talk about it. All right, next up is going to be People Power. People Power was the first coin game that actually made it through solo. So, People Power is a game that follows the coin system or the counter-insurgency system, which is a very interesting system that GMT has and they've been utilizing for a number of their games. In fact, Bronx Expressway is a game that's in the irregular coin series. I think it's listed back here. Let me see. I don't see it. But it says here Volume 3. So Volume 3 because this is oh, there it is right there. Yeah, Irregular Conflict series. So it's a part of the Irregular Coin series. So that is actually, is Irregular Conflict the same as coin? No, it can't be. It can't be, but it uses something adjacent to the coin system. Anyway, going back to the coin system. The coin system effectively is you choose an action for this round, and if you choose an action for this round, let you do kind of a big thing, then you'll basically be sitting out the next round. And there's a certain order that everybody picks in, depending on what card comes out. And the card tells you who has priority, who has secondary, and all that fun stuff. And it's a very interesting system. But this is one of the first coin games that I was able to actually get a full playthrough of solo because it just wasn't working. My brain was not clicking, and it was able to click with this one. This one is a more simple coin game, and I think some people have claimed this one next to Cuba Libre as one of the premier introductory to coin system games for people. So I'm looking forward to introducing it to my friends. It is a 3-player game, so it'll be interesting to see if I can get some friends to play this with me and just try to fight each other and all that stuff. But I don't know if I'll do a playthrough of this one solo, because I feel like when I did my solo playthroughs of this one, when I finally got a playthrough that was competent, playing by the correct rules, and I understood what was happening, it felt kind of boring. It felt kind of dry. So I don't think there's enough going on here for me to like want to do a playthrough of this one. I'm not motivated to do so. So yeah, People Power, you probably won't see me play through that one unless I'm playing with friends, but I do have it. All right, next up is gonna be Labrinth, War on Terror, 2001 through question mark. So for this one, I do have, which expansion do I have? Hold on, I have one of the expansions. I don't think I have the expansion that gives you the bot, or do I? Let me see. Do I have an expansion? Maybe I don't have an expansion in this one. I don't know. Okay, well, I thought I had an expansion for this one. Yeah. Never mind. I was going to say, I do have the expansion for this one, but I clearly do not see an expansion rulebook in here. So, looks like I just have the 2nd edition right here in front of me. All right, never mind. I'm a filthy liar. I was going to say, I had the solo mode for this one, and I wanted to do a playthrough of this one, mostly because of the theme. The theme is the war in Iraq, the conflict in Iraq. And that was of interest to me because that definitely impacted my family directly. My brother went overseas and fought in the war in Iraq, and my stepfather was deployed into the war in Iraq. I think my dad retired just in time, and of course my mom worked for the military, or worked for the government. So, well, not of course, but my mom worked for the government, so she was also like involved with like doing whatever she did government-wise related to the war in Iraq, and it really impacted my family directly. Not that I lost anybody major that I'm aware of, but we definitely have lost family members in that. But it's just like that whole conflict, that whole like labyrinth. Labyrinth, I think, is such a good name for that. It's just like this puzzle, this maze that you're going through, this endless war that you're going through and trying to fight the forever war. And it's just, I don't know, just the theme itself really pulled me in. And I didn't know if I could play solo, so I just bought it. But I do know there's a solo mode in one of the expansions. I think the Turing system was added to it. And I'm looking forward to learning how to play this one. I have no intention of doing a playthrough of this one on stream, unless I can do 1v1 with somebody. But mostly, the reason why is because like the theme for this one interests me in regards to potentially playing with my parents and playing with my family who have been involved firsthand with this. But also, it may not fly with them. It's like, hey, I don't want to think about what happened over there type stuff. But it is definitely on my shelf. It is definitely one of those games that I aspire to maybe do a playthrough of, but I can't make any promises right now. Next up is Votes for Women, another game by Fort Circle Games. So Votes for Women is a warlike game for sure. Like I said, I completely forgot about it, but it has like warlike energy, but it's not a warlike game. So I guess if I'm going with my list of games that are just barely fitting the category of warlike, Shores of Tripoli, Halls of Hegra, this game, just barely a war game, but it's definitely here on my shelf, here on my list here to show. I do want to try to do a 2-player playthrough of this one. I just don't know how I feel about playing as the oppressors, or the opposition, sorry. Well, I guess they were the oppressors. But, maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. But I'll try to see if I can squeak out a solo playthrough this one, because I like the history of this one deals with too, with the Votes for Women, with trying to get women's suffrage here in the United States. And fun fact, historically, black men received suffrage before white women. And that just tells you a lot about our society here in America. More specifically that, patriarchy wanted to reinforce itself before whiteness wanted to reinforce itself. But, of course, white supremacy still exists and stuff. Feel how you want to feel about that. The truth is the truth. Deal with it. All right, moving on. So, going on to our next game, Warfighter Vietnam. I've already done playthroughs of this one. This one is definitely a warlike game. I don't really need to show you more about this one. I have very strong feelings about DVG, very strong feelings about DVG and their distribution system. I still feel salt about it to this day. And I've settled on never buying another game from DVG personally. Feel free to go check out my video. I made a whole video talking about it, why I feel that way about their distribution model. But Warfighter Vietnam, definitely a lot of fun that I've had with this one. A lot of frustration with this one too, mostly because of the dice system. I've already done reviews on it. I've already talked about it quite extensively, and I have another playthrough that's coming up. I'll try to do another additional playthrough. I think I want to have like 5 playthroughs of this one, so I can try to maybe do like a battle pack or 2. But for the most part, this game has a lot of variety, and I do love the building your team aspect of this game. Playing through the missions sometimes is frustrating as all get out. But overall, Warfighter Vietnam I think is a reasonable experience. If you do want to get that game, please check out my video where I talked about why I have a problem with this distribution model, because I feel like that's great information to know. Okay, cool. Moving on to here though, we have Combat as our next game, Combat Eastern Front. So this is the game that kind of inspired me to do this entire video. Combat is a game, as part of a game line that is I don't know if it appeared out of nowhere. I mean, for me personally, it showed up out of nowhere. I was like, what is this game? What is this doing? This whole system. All I know is I saw it on the shelf at one of my friendly local game stores that usually has a lot of war games, and I saw Combat 1 and Combat 2 at the same time. I was like, oh, what's this? This seems like it might be interesting. And I looked at the back. I was like, oh, 1 player only. Oh, this might be up my alley. And then I looked at the price. I was like, ooh, 100 and what? This game is like $130, man. That's crazy. It's a huge pill to swallow for sure. But I decided to bite the bullet. I got Combat Eastern Front, which is one of the newer ones, not the newest one, but one of the newer ones that's been released at this point in time. And I think this one, there's a different designer that took the combat system and they basically built their own game around it. And this one's the Eastern Front. I'm a little unfortunate though, because Eastern Front, I didn't realize Eastern Front means, you know, Soviet Russia and Soviet Russia? The Soviets. Sorry, I don't know Soviet Russia. Soviet Russia sounds right. It's the Soviets and the Germans. So basically, I have to either play as the Soviets or the Nazis. And it's like, oh god, okay, well, fine. And unfortunately, the first mission has you play as the Nazis. Like, oh, this sucks. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the experience, and you can also swap sides. So again, as long as I have the option, I'm usually fine with it. I can get over my own distaste for playing as the wrong side. But in this particular game, though, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the system a lot. I do not think I'll be doing a playthrough this one on stream. Like, I mean, I could, but there's so many people who've done great videos and playthroughs. Go check out their videos. I want to be supportive of them. It's a lot of work to try to put this on the table, and it's a lot of small, tiny, itty-bitty, microscopic rules that I keep forgetting. I think I was going to play this one, enjoy it off stream, maybe for like every other weekend or something, or pick a weekend and just kind of enjoy this game on the table. But this system, I think, is really fun and really interesting as far as like how your people move. It's kind of like a mix between a programming game and a tactic game. It basically simulates man-to-man combat, so it's kind of like, you know, you have individual units, you're trying to move them around, maneuver them around the board, attack your opponent, achieve objectives, all that fun stuff. But it's just interesting how it flows, because you literally are programming like for your next 4 movements, for your next 4 impulses, what the game calls it. And you have a system of like, you know, being spotted or unspotted. You have a system for like shooting. You can become more confident in your shooting, and your soldiers start shooting better. You can become shaken and become wavered to where your troops start running away. And you can even capture. There's like so many things going on with this game that I think are really cool. And I've only played the first mission. I've only played through the first scenario, and I'm like, whoa, there's so much going on. I want to learn more. I want to see more. I want to do more. So I'm super excited about this one for personal leisure play. And that's another thing to mention here. Like, I know I have a YouTube channel where I kind of, you know, have all these games and I kind of show them and try to showcase them, play them, teach them, review them, give you some opinions and some feedbacks that I have on them. But I will say that playing board games for me is a hobby, and I do want to make sure that the hobby stays a hobby. So that goes a long way to say that having games like this that, you know, I might want to throw on stream to share with the rest of the world, but I choose not to. This is something that just happens because it's like, you know, I need to be able to remind myself that I'm doing this for the enjoyment of myself, not for a job, not for work, not for pay. And as a result of that, this is going to be one of those few games where I don't think I'll ever do a stream of it. One, because I think it'll be kind of obnoxious to try to set up everything for it. And then 2, there's so many good videos out there, people who've already done the videos and done the playthroughs. And 3, I kind of enjoy the experience, but I kind of enjoy the experience like in a very slow, casual, like playing it over the course of the entire day. as opposed to trying to get it nice and succinct and compact for one whole playthrough video. So I don't know. If you ever do see me do a playthrough this, it'll hopefully be a shorter scenario, but I do greatly enjoy that game. I can tell you right now, if I were to give that game a rating out of 10, that game is definitely hitting like a 7 or 8 already. And I haven't really, 7.5 or an 8 already. And I haven't really fully learned the rest of the game. So that game is, the combat system is really cool. I think that version of combat might be an exception because they've learned from a lot of mistakes in the past. And they've implemented the updated version of the rules. They're always, they as in the designer of that one, is very active on the forums, answering questions, clarifying things. And I'm assuming they're adding errata as they go along. So I don't know, I'm very happy with my experience with combat, Eastern Front. So it's encouraging me to maybe get the future ones that are coming out, which I think is Crimea and Blitzkrieg, and I think there's one more, like Garden or something. Anyway. Okay, next up is Fire in the Lake, Insurgency in Vietnam. This is the first coin game that I purchased. And I don't know if I'll ever do a playthrough on my channel. I really want to do a playthrough of this on my channel because it's a coin game, and I feel like the coin game system is just so fascinating about the, do an action this round, but you need to make sure the action's impactful. You need to make sure, like, you're basically choosing, if I do an action now, I'm gonna be sitting out next round. That's what you're choosing every time. And it just feels so, like, I don't know, like that choice feels so existential. And I just love the weight of that decision because you're like, okay, I can try to put myself in a good position to set me up for like 2 turns from now, but can I have a good 2 turn, or can I be in a good spot 2 turns from now? I don't know. Or you can just kind of sit out this turn and then kind of plan for the next turn so you can kind of put yourself in a better position. There's so many, just the coin system alone sounds so interesting to me. So that's why I have, like I said, a few coin system games. Actually, oh no, Labrinth is not a coin game, isn't it? Is Labrinth a coin game? Sorry, 1 second. I don't think Labrinth is a coin game. Wow, okay. Anyway, yeah, so I have People Power, I have Cross Bronx Expressway, and I have this. Those are my 3 coin games. For some reason, I thought Labrinth was a coin game, but it is very much just not. Anyway, I'm interested in the system by quite a bit. The subject matter, Vietnam, being one of the things I'm like, I want to learn more, I want to see more. With all the history it has in the cards, it's just so cool. And then it also gives you that kind of internal conflict on the 2 sides, because you can play it as either the U.S. ally side, I forgot the official name for them, or you can play as the Viet Cong, the Vietnamese side, where you're trying to fight for your independence and you're trying to fight against the invasion from the Americans and the ARVN. So as a result, there's like internal conflict between those sides because there's 4 different sides. Sorry, there's 2 different sides. And in those 2 sides, there's 2 different sides to those 2 sides. So you have the Americans who are trying to make sure they don't lose troops, and they're trying to make sure they keep the people happy back at home. And they have the ARVN who are trying to like get their patronage up, get as much money as possible, but also get control of the area. So they want control of the area and they want patrons, they want money. And then you have the Viet Cong, who they really just want their land back and they want to fight for their own independence. And then you have the, who's the other faction? MVA? I think it's MVA. Don't quote me on that. But then you have the other faction who they kind of want their own version of victory. So it's like while the U.S. forces and the ARVN are working together, they're also not working together because the U.S. wants to help out the ARVN to make sure they're supported and have everything they need, but they don't want them to get too much so they can get that victory condition. So the U.S. like, okay, I can give you enough to do the next action, but I'm not going to give you enough to do the next action 3 times because I want you to like listen to me. And then on the other side, the Viet Cong, they're trying to fight for certain positions, but then the NVA, I think NVA is a proper term. The NVA is like fighting back, and they also want the same position. So it's like again, there's conflicts from both sides against each other, but then there's conflicts internal to each side. And it makes this very interesting dynamic of things unfolding. So I'm super interested in the system, so much so that I've also considered getting Red Dust Rebellion, which I don't have. I considered getting it, but because it's going to be already a bear and a half for me to get through this solo, with the expansion, which I have the Fall of Saigon expansion, I do not have the other expansion, which I think is like Prelude or something, whatever it's called. But I have the Fall of Saigon expansion, so it's just I don't like it's just such a cool system. It's such a cool thing. It's probably going to be a bear and a half for me to get this played, like I said before, because solo-wise with coin games is very complicated. I made it through People Power, and I was very underwhelmed with the experience that I had there. Not saying it's a bad game, I'm just saying that I kind of wanted more to happen with the coin system. And playing through Bronx Expressway, I kind of see what I'm looking for in the coin system. So I'm assuming Fire and Lake is really going to have it, but it's just I gotta understand how that automa works, because it just, for me, it's confusing. My brain is not wrapping around it. So that's why I'll leave it at that. All right, the last game on this list is Mr. President. I will say already, you will never see me do a playthrough of this on my channel. I think in my last playthrough video, or my last series update video that I did like a year or so ago, I think I bought Mr. President out and said I want to try to do a playthrough of this. I have no longer have a desire to do so. A few reasons for this one, I can go ahead and tell you now. I think the system's too random for me personally. I think as a simulation game, it's really cool. But given how our current political system exists, as it currently exists, the simulation is out of whack. It's like, apparently we have a lot more capacity for corruption than this game intends, or this game implies. But my commentary on our current political environment in the United States aside, I will say that this game also has a issue that I don't like, has an issue with a bunch of charts that I really don't feel like looking up. Again, I mentioned before, the Golden Age of Piracy handles its charts and table systems in a way that is bearable, and it flows very well, and it feels really nice, and it feels like natural. Whereas in this game, I got to go from this rule book, and I got to go check out this book of tables, and I got to look at this book of tables, and I got to look at this other book of tables to figure out what this book of tables was telling me, and I got to add my plus and minuses, my dice roll modifiers, or else I'll be technically with a false result, and it just becomes this headache and this nightmare to kind of manage by yourself. I would make the argument that Mr. President is a two-player game because there's so much decision space in this game that you really need. You really benefit greatly from having a second person at the table to talk to work through things with, to talk out things with, to determine what to prioritize and what you might want to do, what they might want to do, and try to go from there. I think my favorite way to play this game is digitally. They do have a Steam version of this game right now. I hope they do get one for the Android devices so I can play on my tablet. But they do have a Steam version of this game, and I think that's the correct way to play this game, because if you take all those charts and tables and make it digital to where the computer is in the background calculating everything for you, the game flows so well. It feels so good. As much as the same way I feel about Twilight Struggle, the board game, the OG board game. Twilight Struggle, the computer will do all the calculations, do all the dice rolls, and like give you your chances, like tell you like here's a probability you'll have this be successful versus failure, and that helps out so much. It takes off such a weight from you trying to maintain and manage the game, and I think there's too much overhead for this game in physical form. With that said, that did not stop me from getting the second edition update kit for this game, because I want to make sure my game is current and accurate, because if I do want to play this in person, I want to make sure I have everything I need. But yes, I have no intention of doing a playthrough of this. Instead, I will defer every single person who's interested in this game, where you're playing as the United States president and you're trying to make it through 4 years, and then you're trying to run for re-election and work through 4 more years if you really want to. I highly recommend that you go watch Heavy Cardboard's playthrough. I think Edward and crew did a phenomenal job with that entire, like with the recording, with their playthrough, with their rules teach, with make sure they're staying accurate and correcting their rules as they go. And I want to give them all the shout out I possibly can, because I think they did a much better job than I could ever do. So go check out their series, but I do have it on my shelf. It is a game that I'm still kind of happy about having. It's just, I feel like I'm going to play this on Steam before I play it in person. Unless I have another person to play with, then I will gladly set up on the table and we'll try to work through that presidency together. All right, and that is it. We're at the end of our list of games. I'll switch over to our other camera so you can see the corner of all these games. Just the corner of some of them, not all of them. And yeah, that's kind of it. This is just kind of talking about some of the other games that I have in my collection. In addition to the other games in the previous video, these are my warlike games. I keep saying warlike games because Warfighter is not really a war game, y'all. It's not. Like, I'll say it. It's not really a war game. It's war adjacent, because you do have some chits and bits. Actually, I lied. You do have a lot of chits and bits in that game, but you're not really kind of carting them around the board to, like, you know, attack and defend and all that stuff. You're more so just playing your cards, kind of doing your thing, rolling your dice, and it's more of a dice chucking, like, you know, army building, dice chucking game. I feel pretty passionately about that particular perspective, clearly, because I hold it. And yeah, like I said, that's it. This is all the games here. So it's all the games that we talked about. Hopefully I've given some insight, and if you all are interested in certain games, please let me know. I'll try to see if I can bring them to the front of the line and maybe learn them faster so I can get a playthrough of those. But other than that, these are games that most of these you'll probably see me do a playthrough of. Actually, most? Is that an accurate statement? Yeah, most of these you'll see a playthrough of. The only ones that you won't see a playthrough of, I think, like I said, I don't have any intention of playing through Labrinth. I think People Power versus Fire in the Lake. I'm going to do Fire in the Lake before I do People Power, ever. So, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, those 3 you won't really see me do a playthrough of. Everything else, it's kind of up in the air. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Oh, no, Combat, for sure. You'll never see me do a playthrough of that one. It's just up in the air. But, yeah, that's it. So let me know what you all think in the comments. Hope you all have enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you all whenever.